Hey, everybody. You guys ready for some Christmas in July extravaganza magic? With me, I have her backstage. We're going to bring her on just in a few seconds. Kristen Moss, the casting director for the Great Christmas Light Fight. How you doing today, madam? Are you doing good? How's it going?
It's really, really good. It's a beautiful day in Southern California, so can't complain at all.
Very nice. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Can you tell the folks who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Kristen Moss. I am the casting director of the Great Christmas Light Fight. We are going into season 13. I have been the casting director since season 3. I came on the show season 2 as a casting producer. And then that same season, that Christmas, I was actually spoke to Brady, and the casting director at the time was moving on to something else. Brady asked me if I wanted to come on as the casting director. I said, absolutely. And I've been with the show ever since, kind of running the casting department. So it's been awesome. I do other reality stuff, other real people casting. You know, in the interim, we have a summer casting session and a winter casting session. So we're not on all year round. So I do other things as well, but real people casting is kind of my bread and butter.
So folks are tuning in, and if you watch us back later, stay tuned a little later in this episode, because we're gonna ask the question, we're gonna get the answer, is if are they still casting for this year? We'll find out here in a little bit. First of all, let's catch up in the comments. Let's see who's all in here. We got Polar Scapes coming in. Hey there, Polar Scapes. Crepe says, thanks for doing this all. This is awesome. You're welcome. Let's see who we got. We got Giatano, who is no stranger to the Great Christmas Light Fight. See here, we got Rob. Rob is coming in saying hi to us. How's it going, Rob? Monty. Big guy, don't call me small. Hey there. If we get interviewed and don't hear back at all, should we reply through? We'll get to that question just in 1 second. Alan's tuning in. Hey there, Alan. My Kiwi Christmas coming in all the way from New Zealand. Good to have you here, Pep. Stracker Lights. Chris, we want that hat and t-shirt. You're making fans already. Let me take that down. There you go. Michael JC Light Show from Long Beach, California. What's up, JZ? AJ, what's up, AJ? We're just talking about you. Nice. Mike tuning in. Mick says hello, everybody. So, the question I have for you, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you became the casting director for the Great Christmas Light Fight?
Yeah, sure. So I actually have a hospitality background. I come from the service industry, and I was working at a hotel, the W Hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm originally from New Jersey. I was kind of like finding my way around in my 20s. And in Arizona, for anyone who's been, it gets very hot in summertime. So the hospitality industry kind of dies a little bit for corporate events. And I found a Craigslist ad looking for people who are willing to kind of walk up to anybody, talk to anyone, and try to help recruit for reality TV shows. And I said, I can talk to anyone. Let me try this. So at 27 years old, I kind of changed my career. That Craigslist post changed my life. I became a entry-level casting recruiter working on a dating show. Within 6 months, I'd moved to Los Angeles, and I started getting into reality TV casting and worked my way up the chain. I was a casting associate for a couple of years, became a casting producer for a couple of years. And then now lately, for the past few years, I opened my own business in 2020, actually January 2020, right before pandemic. And that year was really good for casting because production was not happening. There was nobody on set. So everyone who had big reality ideas kind of put all their emphasis on casting. So a lot of casting people had a lot of work, all remote. And that's kind of the long and the short of it. I also started an award show for reality TV. I kind of dedicated my life to reality television because I felt like an adoptee into the industry, and I was welcomed with open arms. So I try my best to give back to not only the industry itself, but to people who want to be on reality TV. I really try to give insight and tips and tricks into the best way to get on reality TV if, anyone's interested. So I have a Instagram and a Facebook page dedicated to that too, reality TV casting calls. So, if anyone's interested in more than just the Great Christmas Light Fight, I am always down to give insight and tips and tricks.
And what are those handles so people can look those up and subscribe real quick?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at reality_TV_casting calls. So if you just type out reality TV casting calls, it should pop up. And Facebook as well. I also have TikTok, which I'm not the best at TikTok. AJ is our resident TikToker. But I do have a TikTok for reality TV casting calls too.
Awesome. I did not know that you came up with your own award show. That is freaking brilliant. Well done, you. So talk a lot about reality TV. You have done everything from MasterChef Junior, I believe Gordon Ramsay's F Word, if that sounds familiar, Shark Tank, Real Housewives. You've done it all. You're the rock star of reality TV. How does working on this channel, this genre, Christmas Lights, differ from the others?
Yeah, so what we really focus on this show is the lights, like the house, the beautiful display, how someone is coming up with ideas and relaying them into artwork on their home. As most of you know, I hope anybody who's applying for the show knows, the only rule left on the regular residential display episodes is that it has to be on one property. So on one residential property is the only rule left in the show. We are looking, my team is working right now to try to find the best of the best nationwide. And believe it or not, we're still finding new ones that we've never heard of. They are coming, there's articles being posted every single Christmas for displays that have been going on for 30, 40 years. And we're just now finding them. We look far and wide, nationwide, for the biggest and best Christmas displays. So, and then the family behind the display is really just a cherry on the cake. If there's a beautiful story as to why they do their display, anywhere ranging from, a family member started it 50 years ago and they're trying to continue that legacy, or they started watching the Great Christmas Light Fight when they were a teenager, and now they have their own family and they want to give their families, something that rings true to them, or they just love lights and they love art and they want to display it on their home. There are so many stories behind the scenes, but the biggest star to each display is the display itself.
Yeah. Couple things. You touched on a lot there. That was a perfect answer. One way that has the Great Christmas Light Fight and me have kind of collaborated over the years is I do an annual award show I call the Fan Appreciation Award. And many times, many of my contestants on my show have gone on to be cast on your show. So if anybody out there, if you have a display, 4th of July, which is right now more or less, Christmas, Halloween, anything, take a video of that, a horizontal video, send it to me at christmasoncrestline@gmail.com. I put you into the Fan Appreciation Award, and it's kind of like a consolidated list that you and AJ and everybody can just kind of go to, and Felicia, and say, okay, what's Charlie got going on this year? So that's one resource.
We have to take a look at that because I don't know if we have actually scoured your lists in the past.
You have actually. AJ's contacted me about it, and then you have a new casting person that I hadn't heard of before that reached out to me. And I've connected her with one of my contestants from this year.
Oh,
so,
that's good. I could not do what I do without my team. So I just want to give a big old props to everyone on my team. AJ, Sharon, Jamie, Mariah, Alicia. I mean, you guys Blake is our editor. Without them, the work would not be done. So I'm glad that they found your list.
Oh yeah, for many years now. Catch up on the comments here a little bit. We have a ton of people coming in now. Let's see here. Chad Summers, hello everybody. I rescheduled my meeting so I can make the start of the live. Well done, you Chad. I appreciate your dedication to the show. We'll see. Well, I know I saw a former winner pop in here. Let me find them real quick. Mick saying there, wonderful world of Christmas lights. Hey, how you doing? Jamie, what's up, Jamie? Braden Stewart saying, what's up? We got Johnny, my wife and I love the Great Christmas Light Fight. No particular question, but thank you for doing this. Heck yeah, thank you. Heck, they're awesome. There's the winner. Got Brian Michael here, season 11, episode 6 winner. See you in a few weeks at Expo in Kansas.
Yeah.
Brian, I will be there teaching at the Expo. So that's awesome. We got Ethan.
We'll have a chat as well, talking about a little bit about his experience on Light Fight. And so check that out if you're going to Expo.
So you are doing, I'm teaching the course there about how to do what you and I are doing right now, which is, for me, there's not enough Christmas tubers. There's just not. There's me, and there's David from Learn Christmas Lighting, who does pixels. And we're kind of it for weekly year-round shows. And my goal is we need more. We need hundreds of channels to come on and do weekly shows and get this thing going year-round. So you guys are doing a talk. Is that an open Q&A talk there at the Expo?
So Saturday morning, there's a Light Fight panel. So myself and actually Brady Cannell is going to be there as well. He's our executive producer. He's the one who even got me, into the position I'm in. So I dedicate everything to him. I owe everything to him as far as being in this position right now. He is also, I don't know if they've shared it yet, but he's a keynote speaker at the Expo this year. So he's going to be there Thursday morning giving the keynote speech to kick it off. And then I believe Brian Michael is later in the day on Saturday. He's kind of just offering some tips and tricks as far as, his experience on the Great Christmas Light Fight.
Nice. That's genius. I've talked to many winners over the years, and they all have the same thing. They all have a shared experience that it was awesome to be on. So I've never heard anybody say anything bad about it. I've talked to folks who've been in other shows. I have some negatives, but I've never legitimately ever heard anybody say anything bad about the Light Fight. So what has morphed over the years? You said that the only real change that exists is they have to be one property, which I think is smart. So how's the show evolved otherwise over the years?
Well, in the very beginning of, starting out with the show, there used to be a rule that you were only allowed 30 days to set up your display. And they would run, I believe they set up GoPros where they would watch a kind of time lapse, and each family only had 30 days to set up their display. The funny thing is, because that rule existed back then, people still think it exists now. Maybe they're reading forums, they're watching, they're watching walls or panels or anything like that that's out there, maybe Reddit. And because there did used to be this 30-day rule, but it doesn't exist anymore. The other major thing, and again, because that 30-day rule doesn't exist anymore, you can start decorating at any time. Right now, we're doing the casting. There's families we're pitching to the network, and those families, if they're confident that they feel like they could get on the show, they could technically start decorating right now if they wanted to. I know it's beginning of July, but if they felt like they wanted to start decorating now, they could. I know grass has to be mowed and leaves have to come off trees and everything, but there's a lot that goes into the decorating. But if they wanted to start now, they could. The other biggest thing that happened was we used to shoot our episodes in early fall, and then we would edit everything and have them ready to air in the same year at Christmas time. And season 5, we actually went back to the network and said, there are so many families who would never be able to shoot their display and have it up in time in August, September. So the network said, you know what, we'll give you the ability to cast a double season. So imagine how, we had to get twice the number of families that season to cast for 5. And then we shot 6 in November, and 6 then aired the following Christmas. And now we're a year ahead. So we shoot the month of November now, and we don't air until the following Christmas. So we have all that time to edit and lock in the shows. That being said, some families still feel like November reveals are still too early, but all I can say to them is it's 1 year, and families used to have to get it up by September. So, I mean, November is pretty good. If you want to be on the show, there is some sacrifice. It might, your display might have to be up a couple of weeks early, but to me, and from what I've heard as well, it's totally worth it. And the experience and that like snapshot in time of your display at its best with your family members at the ages that they're going to be at during that time. I mean, there's nothing like looking back at your episode throughout the years.
Yeah. This is an interesting question I want to pose to everybody who's watching. And if you watch later, just put it in the comment. What date or what time frame do you start hanging lights? For me, I start hanging lights September 15th every year. The weekend right after that, that's my hard hanging light date. But that brings us into a great transition. What qualities do you look for when you cast for the Great Christmas Light Fight? And is it contestant story, the display, a combination thereof? What makes the perfect contestant that you say, hey, we need to cast those people?
So what we look for, like I said, is first and foremost, the best displays nationwide. The families we can work with, even if there's two people, even if it's like, a sweet couple that have been doing it for 30 years and they're kind of shy to be on TV, we can work with it. Our producers are amazing. It's the display that we look for first and foremost. What makes the best displays, large or small, corner lots or, small lots or center homes, whatever it is density, light density, and uniqueness. We are now in season 13. So we've seen a lot, we've showcased a lot, and the more unique, the better. I can't tell someone what to do to make their house unique. I'm not the artist. I'm just the person who can see a display and say, this is something we've never seen. This is some technology we've never seen before. This is, some programming I've never seen before. This is, a light show that has to be showcased to the world because the viewers are going to go absolutely nuts. Or this is a theme like Barbie, all pink, or, something that is so totally different is something we're looking for right now. We've seen the houses that are beautifully covered with lights, and then they have a couple of store-bought things. Maybe they have some blow molds and maybe they have some inflatables. That is so sweet and it's amazing and it's beautiful and everyone's artwork is awesome. But to get on the show, we want to see something that is unlike anything we've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that is where most folks get their inspiration from. I hear from people all the time, like, "Hey, saw this on the Light Fight, or even on the Fright Fight, which came back last year." So your team researches news articles, social media posts. You scour the world, scour the nation for contestants. So if someone wants to get discovered by you, how do they do that?
Well, if you want to get discovered by us, don't leave us hanging. Just go ahead and fill out a submission form at lightfightcasting.com. It's a quick and easy submission form. This is something we've changed on the back end of the casting. It used to be a big, long application that you had to fill out in DocuSign in order to get seen by us, in order to submit your display. We kind of streamlined that. And now we have a pretty quick and simple submission form that you can use to submit your display. So you go to lightfightcasting.com and click on the link to apply, and that's going to take you to our easy submission form. We need to see footage. So, and horizontal footage is what we pitch the network. So you can submit your footage to us. If it's all vertical because you've taken a lot of footage for social media, which I totally get, social media is where most people are posting, that's fine. We can tell what your display looks like. If we're interested in your display, we may ask you to go back out to your friends and family and see if they have horizontal footage, or go through your phone or sift through, put out and try to get that horizontal footage. If you don't have horizontal footage that exists, and I know we're in summertime, you can't get it now, we will add you to our list to reach out to at Christmas time. and walk you through getting amazing horizontal footage. But when we pitch the network, we need that horizontal footage. So the best way to get seen by us is to simply apply.
Catching up on comments, we got Tony Tran from season 11 popping in saying hi to us. I know I saw a question, a lot of questions on here. We catch up on the questions here. What is the minimum size? Alan would like to know. What's the minimum size for a show?
There's no minimum size. I mean, as long as it's nice and tight and condensed. Listen, when I say condensed, we want to see more light, way more light than darkness. So it doesn't matter where that light is coming from. You could use projection filler. You could use uplighting. If you don't want to go out and literally tightly wind a tree that has thousands of branches, some uplighting works really well, or net lighting works really well to fill dark spaces. Also, driveways are a very dark sore spot a lot of times in displays, and I totally understand. You want to use your driveway for your car. We don't expect you to not have access to your own driveway for the entire season. But if you are getting your footage for us, do something with the driveway, add some pieces to the driveway, fill it in a certain way, or add some projection. I've seen some awesome projection lighting that, makes really cool streaks across the driveway, or, hang some projections over the garage that can like hit sparklers or something down. The archways are good, but we want something even more, like the filling of the driveway just for the show can be very important on some houses where the driveway takes up sometimes 50% of the front lawn. So think about that when you're going to take your footage next year. Figure out a way to fill up the driveway, because we're going to probably want to see that for the episode itself.
Fair enough. I just incorporated projection mapping into my own show this year. So that'll be fun. To me, that's the next genre, which we'll talk about here later, the 5 different genres of stuff. And this question's kind of jumping us up a little bit here, but My Kiwi Christmas in New Zealand has one question for you. When are you coming to New Zealand? Are there any plans for an international cast?
Listen, we have a very big database, and we have an international tab on that database. So even if you're international, submit to us. We want to see those international displays. We will not be going this year. I cannot say if we'll ever get international, but It's on our list of things we hope to do in the future, because Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the Philippines. If you haven't seen any displays in the Philippines, just do a quick Google search. They're amazing. There are some really incredible. Medellin, Colombia has an awesome Christmas, has awesome Christmas displays in spirit. Germany does. So we hope to get international. It's not happening this year, but you never know. If you have a display and it's international, don't be ashamed, or, be afraid to fill out a submission form too.
Wise words. William's asking, how can a cul-de-sac of 13 houses be cast? Are there any thoughts of doing a block?
So years ago, and I have to remember the season, we actually did a neighborhoods episode, and there was the neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona, won that episode. It was only 3 neighborhoods. So we don't know at this point if we'll ever get back to doing another neighborhood episode. A lot of times we like to do kind of one specialty episode, and we'll try to change that up through the years. We also did a neighbors episode one year. So I don't know if we'll do that again, but we're not discounting it. Again, we have all of these things in our grid for if that ever comes up again. But we ended up moving ahead with heavyweights, and we've been doing heavyweights episodes every so often, which is a non-residential display episode. And it's been really amazing. It gives us the opportunity to showcase something that's so totally unique and so totally different. So what I recommend for the big neighborhoods, if there's one crowning jewel in your neighborhood, if you really want to try for the show, maybe incorporate everything from the neighborhood onto the one house and for the season, and see if you can get some footage of that. And we could pitch the one house. But right now, I don't think we're going to get back to a neighborhoods episode anytime in the near future.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Though it's always fun just to see like a different episode every now and then with the whole. For me, I guess a different way to say this is for me, the whole point of decorating is I like being part of people's family traditions. We have a photo cut out, and I get people say, "Hey, I was 5 when I started it," and they're getting ready to graduate high school now. And just seeing the joy that people bring, the camaraderie, if you will.
Yes.
That's what I like.
Our team and I were just talking about this today. Sometimes we meet these families and we're like, I want to be a part of your family, because it's just so amazing, the dedication that not only, maybe the creator and their partner put into the display, but then their children get involved and then they start taking over the display. We've heard so many incredible stories of just passion for Christmas and their display. It makes us want to join these families all the time.
So, which brings me to another question. A lot of hard work goes into this. So ahead of time, so people know now, what are any disqualifiers that may prevent someone from being on the show?
So, I mean, one of the big disqualifiers could be if you have your display sprawling or ranging over multiple properties. So if you utilize your neighbor's lawn, or even if you have even if you own 2 properties side by side, we still would want you to condense it onto one, because obviously that just it's not fair to other people to be able to sprawl across. So it's one physical address. So even if you own both houses, the rule is it has to be on one residential property. That being said, if there's no way to condense it onto one property, we can have a display on the show that goes off into other properties, but the judge will not judge the items that are not on those properties. So you may have a huge train set on your neighbor's property because you can't fit it on your own. We won't show that train. The judge won't judge that train as part of the judging criteria and everything. So we do suggest that you put it all on your property for the judging and for the show. So that's one of the biggest ones. Oh. The other thing that could happen, and it's not going to get you disqualified, but I want people to be aware that the light shows where, you may be programming to music. And I know all of you light show enthusiasts are programming now for this Christmas. I'm aware of how long it takes. The actual light or the actual song that you're programming to may not be able to be featured on the show at airing, for ABC. I mean, All I Want for Christmas Is You is so expensive. There are so many songs that we've already shown and we try not to repeat. So my suggestion is program your lights the way you want to the songs you want. When the judge shows up, they're going to watch your songs and your programming, and that's what the judge is going to judge on. Now, when it comes to airing on ABC, the song may be changed to a similar beat that is licensable and maybe just not going to, that we can show. So The audience is going to watch your lights as they were programmed. There just might be a different song playing under them, but the judge has judged based on what they saw in person.
The magic of television.
Something to think about.
There
are also some characters that we cannot license for the show, but we do our best to try to help with those families to get those, either move those characters around or give you enough time ahead of time to maybe change the characters. Like Dr. Seuss is really hard for us. So we always recommend not having Grinch in the display. We don't say don't have Grinch forever. Just if you're trying to do the Great Christmas Light Fight, maybe don't build a Whoville because we're not going to be able to show it. And there are some that are not able to be shown. And that's something we talk to you about in casting. But for the most part, we do our best to try to get clearances for characters like, and movies and things like that.
Right. That kind of incorporates a lot. So can you take us from start to finish? So I have submitted my tape into ABC's lightfight.com. Lightfightcasting.com, is that right? Okay. I've submitted my tape and I'm going to sit around, I'm going to wait, and then somebody contacts me. Can you take us start to finish?
Sure. So if you've submitted your tape to us and we're giving you a call, that means that we're interested in what we see. We will want to gather as much footage as you have of the most recent season. So the most recent Christmas season, so 2023 Christmas, that's the footage we're going to want to see. We'll set you up with a folder where you can upload your footage to us. All of that footage is for just internal casting use. And then we'll take a look through the footage. A lot of times I'm kind of the final say that says, all right, great. I think this footage looks awesome. Let's contact this family and get them interviewed. So once we've interviewed the family, now they can be in consideration to be put to edit and actually be pitched to the network. So not every family that we interview will actually be pitched to the network. And we try to be as transparent with families as possible when we say that. Sometimes we interview families and, you know, it's just at the end of casting and we don't have time to fit them into the edit schedule. We have one editor working on the show. Other times, just the way the displays work, or, oh, I needed another house that's actually on the West Coast just to fill in the gaps, or I have, you know, or I want one that's in Florida to fill in the gaps, or, you know, I try to utilize what is going to work for production. And those reasonings may change. It's sometimes, you know, oh, this family has tons of kids and we like don't have many families that we're pitching with kids. So let's put them to edit. I mean, there's so many different aspects and different factors that come into play to actually get pitched to the network. Once they're pitched to the network kind of decides whether they like them and would want to move them forward. If they think maybe we need a couple more years of growth, maybe we need, you know, maybe they have some notes, oh, have them condense or have them, you know, is there a theme they can lean into? There's all these different things that we try to relay back to the families who we want, because we want, my goal is that every family who's ever considered or wanted to be on the show gets a chance to be on the show. I'm as transparent as possible with these families to try to get them over the edge. And there's a lot of families in the chat and a lot of families who might be watching who know that's true. I pitch them year after year and I wait for the best footage and I say, can you fill in the roof? I just need to send footage with the roof filled in, or can you, you know, just cover the driveway? I need to show the network the driveway. So we will work with you. We want you to get your chance to be on the show. And then we have this big pile of families who've been approved by the network and are excited to do the show. And then the episodes have to be put together and we have to kind of fill in, you know, make the episode a little bit different. I know I might be skipping ahead, but one of your questions was, will we ever have just like a tiny show house or a tiny show episode? And we probably won't, because we want the episode to have a cool flow and to show different, unique displays per episode. We only have 4 families per episode. We want to show many different types of displays in one episode. So we put, you know, or it's not up to me to build the episodes, but when they're building the episodes, they want to see a range of displays in a range of different areas, in a range of families that put them together to make the episode excitable for non-Christmas view, you know, like enthusiasts, maybe just Christmas fans who like Christmas.
Yeah, Giancarlo's taking your advice and saying the driveway will be filled this year.
Yay! I'm excited. I'm excited. I really like. I truly want every family to get on the show if that's what you want.
Very cool. What does so when folks send me video for my contest, they'll do vertical. I'm like, that takes so much editing time to transition that into a 16:9 horizontal. So for you, you're sitting down, you're gonna open up your file, whatever. You're gonna look at some casting videos that have been sent to you. What does the perfect casting video that's been sent to you look like? Is it aerial? Is it just straightforward? Is it? I hate when people zoom in because that takes so much work for me on the back end. I just like they hit record and it's a one picture. What looks best for you?
Aerial is amazing. Drone footage has been, I mean, priceless when it comes to casting because you can see it all. So we always open our casting tapes with the money shot. You don't have to have a drone, but if you do, It's great. And if you have a drone operator who actually knows how to shoot on a drone, even better. We've seen some really crazy footage, and we'll work with it, but we've seen some really like jerky footage kind of, but we still try our best. So a big aerial shot of the display, like fully, able to be viewed from aerial, from across the street on a ladder, from anywhere that's just like a little bit higher than eyesight is awesome. And then we also need some close-up shots though. Our show is all about showcasing what's in your display. When we take our judge through the display, well, when you, the contestant, walks the judge through your display, they are going to stop and talk about at least 4 or 5 things in your display. So if your display just consists of lights, there's not much to talk about unless you really like intricately string your lights differently, or programming is another thing that we like to touch on. Maybe use of color could be something that we touch on. If you string your lights into different designs on your house, then that's great, awesome. But if you think about what we have to cover, the judge is going to want to talk about 4 or 5 things maybe on the episode. So that means we're probably wanting to shoot 7 or 8 or 9 different unique elements when we're there so that we can choose what ends up on TV. So if there's not 9 or 10 unique elements to talk about in your display, it's a little tougher for us to see you through in the casting process, because we're going to want those moments that the judge can have with you. I mean, I remember there was one year there was like a swing and the judge was able to get on the swing and ride it. And, there's a sleigh, or there's like a little activity moment where the judge could pull a lever and something happens. Those moments are priceless for our show because it gives the judge something to talk about and it gives the audience something to watch versus just, looking at a house full of lights or pixels and thinking like, wow, this is something totally different, or being able to fill that segment time. So DIY things that have never been seen before are incredible. When we go close up, so back to your point of what we need for casting footage, we want that full, beautiful shot from multiple angles, if possible. But we also want the close-up shots of the elements that make your display unique, and those elements that you're going to talk to us about in your interview, and those elements in turn that the judge is going to talk about when you walk them through your display when you're filming the show. So I think that I hope that answers the question.
Oh yeah, beautifully. So you want ideally aerial. So maybe if you got a buddy George next door that works for SpaceX's drone display, hey George, come on over. I got a 6-pack and some ribs for you.
Even the neighborhood kid down the street who has a drone. The quality helps, but it doesn't have to be ABC TV quality. It doesn't have to be HD.
Yeah.
We just need to see it.
So drone if you can. You want color. You want a packed display overall, and tied in on unique features. Maybe perhaps a walk around to kind of see, hey, this is what this offers us. And then interactives would be great. Cool.
Yeah, if you have interactive elements in your display, get that footage of it. And again, you guys, I mentioned that drone is amazing, and it is. But if you just have a phone, it's like this. And sometimes actually AJ taught me this, when you're going to take footage, sometimes if you start at the bottom and do a nice slow sweep up, stop on it, up again, that we can use. And then you could do one down from the top to the bottom, and then you could do side to side, as slow as possible. Yes. When you're walking through, slow. Don't just like run through your display, because that's going to be really hard for us to see on here. You want to go slow shots. You could look up some cinematography online, but we also do send out a document that gives ideas for shots as well.
Gotcha. One little thing actually is having for me. I got a new DJI camera. You can flip it on, and this has a built-in Dremel. I got the social media package, but you can get this thing for like $350, and it controls the XY axis and you can double tap it. And like, hey, maybe I want some vertical stuff. You just switch this to vertical. The camera instantly fills vertical, so you don't have to switch in how you do your camera. You don't have to do anything in post. This is just a handheld camera with a built-in Dremel that does both 16:9 by 9 and 9 by 16. So that's what I film my show with. And it's just a little 4K camera that's just changing the industry right now. Just happen to have that layout.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And then as far as the amount of footage, I just want to touch on this quickly. We only need about 20 minutes because our casting edits are about 3 to 4 minutes long. So we don't need gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs of footage because our editor is going to go crazy. So send us your best 10, 15, 20 minutes of footage, all at night, by the way, all at night. If you want to send us a little bit of something during the day, we may use it, but the network wants to see your display at night. We will only be showing your display at night. So we only need night footage with the lights all on. The other thing I just want to say, if you have not a light shows, we want to see the full light show. We want to see the music, make sure we can hear the song. Our editor can add in the song and lay it in perfectly, but we need to hear the song if you have a light show, so we know what to sync it to when we do the casting edit. But also, if you have a display that isn't a light show, and isn't programmed, and maybe just like on and off blinking, things like that, for the footage for us, put it all on. Because if we see dark spots, then it feels like there's dark spots, and there may not be dark spots. It's just off. So if you just have a display that kind of has a little movement, and you can get it with the movement, but we will probably want it all on because we want it to be as bright as possible.
Makes sense. So the average song's 3 minutes. So if it's a computerized light show, the songs, probably 5 songs would probably get you that 15 to 20 minute mark.
But make sure you're moving to different angles. So if you're doing light shows, you may need more footage than that. I remember there was a family, they will be on the show this year, but there was a family who sent us the same angle of their show, and and I could tell it was good, but I couldn't show the network just one angle. So finally they ended up getting us this beautiful footage from all different angles, and it put them over the edge.
Perfect. I tell everybody, record from your roof if you can. Gives you the cheap aerial, the pre-drone footage, straight front, the left and right side, and then editing. I edit my stuff so you can edit, and it looks all awesome. So when folks are I'm sorry, we're doing start to finish. So they've sent the video, you've contacted them, they've gone to edit, you've edited it, the show says, yes, we're going to approve this family. What happens next?
Then they build the episodes. There will be families that will get a call and say that we'd like to have them on the show. There will be families who will get a call and say, we'd like to see if you're interested in being an alternate for the show. And there will be families who will get a call and say, I'm sorry, you didn't make it to the show this year, but that does not discount them for future seasons. That means that we will contact them at Christmas. We want to see how their display evolves. Most of the time, the families we are interviewing have an evolving display, and they have plans for this, that coming season, and already maybe had plans if they made it on the show. We want to see that footage, and we will be able to repitch them. We've repitched families every year. And a lot of times they make it over the edge the very next year or within a few years. So that's basically what happens. And then they'll get their shoot dates, they'll talk to their producer, and they'll be off to the races to start decorating.
So my next question, shoot date. So everything, the stars have lined up and you're going to be on the show. And then you get a call, say, hey, we're going to be there November 1st to shoot. Have your show ready to go by then. How much lead time do you get between the call and the production date?
It's usually a couple of months. I think most of the families are going to find out by mid-August if they are going to make it on the show this season. So mid to late August this year. So, and then we're shooting the month of November. So you'll have September, October, if you're shooting, you'll have 2 months to get everything up.
And once it's November 1st, the crew's coming. How much crew can I expect at my house?
So for the first day, it's going to be, so it's 2 full days of filming, and then potential half day. So it's like 2.5 days of filming. On the first day, the crew is going to come, and it's just going to be a couple of people, maybe 3 or 4 people who are doing the interviews. They're taking B-roll footage. They want to see how your display looks during the day and those last minute finishing touches. Anybody who's been on the show knows what I'm talking about. They will do interviews with the family like you've seen on the show. We like to hear the story from the families, from the family's mouth, and we want to interview the families. And then on the night of the second day is when a bigger crew is going to arrive. We set up all the permits to get the street shut down. We may hire, a local police to police that area. All those permits and everything have been pulled. Usually our side takes care of that, the production side. If the families have connections, we, utilize that. So that night where we're actually going to be shooting the big reveal with the judge, it's a bigger night, a bigger crew. And then the following day, it's going to be pared back down to a smaller crew and get those final interview pieces. Maybe we missed something in the initial interview pieces based on how the, display reveal went. And then we'll get those last moments together with the family.
Are there any surprises or misconceptions that the contestants have that once the show starts, they say, I didn't realize it would be like this? Or do you have any of those moments or stories or anything?
Oh, I was just told by Christina, who is our talent. She's our lead talent coordinator. Did I say that right? Yes, I think so. Christina has come from the casting world, and now she has moved into production, and she's amazing. The big reveal is actually on the first night. So we'll come. There's going to be a bunch of people who are going to come. We're going to do some of those interviews, but that big reveal now is on the first night.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. Misconceptions.
Yeah. Are there any surprises or anything that takes them by shock? Like, I can't believe Carter's so nice, or anything at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think the niceness of the judges comes off in real life. They are both wonderful. So I don't think that's a shock. I think maybe sometimes a big shock could be that it takes so long to film and it goes so late into the night. We can't, start filming until the sun is down. We film when, the sun has set, and we want that big reveal moment to happen in pitch black. So, and then we start walking through the display, and then it takes several hours. So we're not even able to start with the big reveal until the sun goes down. Then the judge comes up, meets the family. Then the big walkthrough happens. So sometimes it's 1-2 o'clock in the morning before they're done walking the judge around. So I think that's been one of the big ones. Yeah. Also, I think it's the stress of getting everything together. I mean, it's a show. Your artwork is finally being displayed, and you want to make it the best year you've ever had. So as much as we say, do what you can, you've made it on the show, we want to see what you have. It's stressful to get everything done. And a lot of times families are not done when the judge comes, and you would never know on the show. I think the reason that people love our show so much, and when you watch, you get such a feel good, feeling about it, is because we're not looking to air dirty laundry. We're looking to showcase a family's Christmas traditions, their Christmas display, as they are able to get it done. You would never see that there was a flaw that happened. We are only going to showcase the best of the best moments.
As we all want to see, right? There was a question by a viewer in Discord who said he couldn't be in the show today. Are there any thoughts about making a blooper reel, or maybe transition it to, like, you go to a movie, you want to stay to the last 3 minutes of the credits because you're going to see some bloopers at the end? Is there any thought about adding any of that into any of the episodes?
I don't think so. That wouldn't be like the casting side. That's more production, post-production. But I don't think so. Again, we're not trying to showcase anything that would make somebody feel embarrassed or make somebody feel
Oh,
bad.
gotcha.
We want everyone to walk away with an amazing experience, watch the show and say, yes, they captured my family exactly as we
Yeah.
are. That's what we're looking for.
One question that's come up a lot in the chat is about working with HOAs. I know you're in casting, you don't really deal with this a bunch, but can you talk just a moment about working with HOAs and regulations?
Yeah. So when it comes to HOAs, know the rules of your HOA, because if you get selected for the show, you're going to want to start decorating as soon as possible. If that's not allowed in your HOA, maybe you can, put in a ticket for a change of rules for extenuating circumstances. You may have to ask your neighbors, I guess, but just know the rules of your HOA. And hopefully you have a good relationship with your HOA, because they're gonna have to be contacted. We can't just bypass an HOA. There's rules and regulations set up that you pay into because they make you feel safe and they help everybody, get along, and they make you feel good in your neighborhood. That's probably why you live there, because you have this. I don't know. I don't live in an HOA.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I don't either, but yeah.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're just being respectful and that you have run it past them even slightly.
Yeah.
Chances are, if you have that big of a display and people are coming from far and wide to see it, and they're already kind of used to the beautiful Christmas chaos that goes into having a display on your home, they might welcome this with open arms, but not always, I guess. My suggestion to you is to contact your HOA before you even apply for the show and see if they're open to it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't help anybody if all of a sudden they just tell you no and you're not allowed to do it.
Fair enough. Question coming in from our Facebook side is, will crowds be back this year?
So the crowds were awesome, and they really, helped the excitement. That is always up to, I think it has to do, there's state level things, there's production company level things. It's not something I can answer now. And it's, even if I ask the hires up who will know eventually about crowds, it's not something they can even answer now, because the regulations are always changing. So at this point, I don't know. I do know that we encourage the entire family to be there. And then, beyond that, I'm not really sure what the crowd situation is going to be. But I do know it's going to be, it'll be bigger and better than it was when there were no crowds allowed. So.
Right. Okay. Well, so when crowds were there in each and every episode, was that something that the contestants could say, hey, no, I don't want crowds here? Or was it just say, we want to make this a family event. Let's have a bunch of crowds here.
I think it was, I think we encouraged the families to invite their friends and neighbors and things like that. So it was always something that was a little bit up to the families, and basically saying, like, feel free to invite everybody you want. There's a like a release that everybody has to sign when they show up, and we ask that they don't wear like logos and things like that. But it's a pretty easy process to get the crowds there and signing all the releases and stuff. And then, of course, the crowd size just depended on the family reach. I mean, some so many people, and some had just like a tight knit crew that came out to celebrate. So yeah, I think a lot of it did have to do with the family and their reach within their community.
Yeah, catch a bunch of comments. Brian saying that Light Fight's going to have some fun stuff this year, and to check us out, and says the interview's going great. We're having a great time here.
I'm having a great time.
Williams asked if this video will be available for future viewing. Yeah, we're doing a YouTube live stream, and we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on a bunch of different platforms right now. And usually YouTube will have it about an hour after we finish this interview. YouTube will have it back up for streaming. Let's see here. Giatano says he's Italian. Family's a crowd. Brian says he liked it more when the crowds were around, more attention to the family and a display from the judge. Robert Larkin, for the record, it's not how many people are in your party, but how much party is in your people.
That's
Appreciate you,
what
Rob.
I'm talking about.
Rob Larkin of the Indiana Larkins. Uh, let's see here. Okay. Then my next question is a little bit controversial. Controversial on chat rooms, controversial on Reddit. And in fact, this Saturday, right now I'm in the middle of my Christmas and July extravaganza series. I do 15 videos in 30 days, and I interview celebrities like yourself.
Wow.
But this Saturday, I'm doing a top 5 video. And one of the categories, it's the 5 genres of light shows. Now, the drone shows. There's a lot of controversy, like they're not Christmas. I think it's a legitimate light show. That's where I stand on it.
Okay.
Will drones be back? And second question, do you consider them to be the new genre, the new tech for Christmas light shows?
Imagine being in my position, right? I'm looking for the most unique Christmas displays nationwide. And all of a sudden I see a house that has drones that come up over it that are synced to the house. Now, again, you're in my position. Do you pitch it to the network or don't you? Pretty sure you pitch it to the network. Like, I know that the drones got a lot of slack because that people don't look at it as Christmas, but it's awesome. In my opinion, I don't think drones are just the new wave of Christmas. I think drones are adding to the height of Christmas displays, other displays in general, but also they're replacing fireworks in so many ways. Disney has an incredible drone show. I mean, there was a drone show last year, and I don't know if they're doing it again this year, instead of fireworks locally for me. And to like, better for the environment, better for people's pets and kids are trying to sleep and everybody's getting scared of these big loud booms. I think drones serve a very distinct purpose in celebrations overall. I don't think they're replacing anything. I think they are a new addition to how people already celebrate. And again, if you were me, would you not pitch a drone show on a home to the network? It had to be done.
Don't you?
I'm not in charge of who wins. And, frankly, I think Carter was just as shocked as the network was, as I was, as everybody was when he saw those drones. So I think they absolutely served a purpose. This year, I don't have any drone shows that I'm pitching. So,
okay.
And in season 12,
Answer
there were
that
no
question.
drones. So to me, if the big controversy is that we're now adding drones to a category or creating a category for drones, we're not. Like, it was something amazing. I haven't seen it since on a residential home display that hasn't been on the show yet. I know Tom George does it on his house, but he's already
He does, yeah.
So I think it's awesome. I think it was awesome, but it's not something that we're actively looking for to incorporate now into the show.
Fair enough. I had an opportunity to interview your drone winner from last season, last February, and he says that he doesn't think the cost is really going to trickle down to the residential side because he was telling me it's $10,000 per drone. He goes, I have 300 drones, so it's a lot of money. So I think it's like anything else. When flat screens came out, they were $7,000 for a TV. I'm like, no, I'm not buying that. But now I can go get one at Walmart for $199.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll trickle down.
I think it could end up changing, and we may pitch a drone show again in the future. It's possible, maybe a heavyweight with drones, but to me, it's just as exciting as anything else we show on the show. Yep.
We have Robert tuning in from the Facebook side, wanting to know if they're going to equalize competitions. So that's one thing. I know you're casting. That's one of the complaints I hear. I don't mind it. But some people say, hey, we need all AC lights in one episode and all pixel lights in one episode. But I 100% get what you said a little bit ago about you want a variety in one show. Because, it is a TV show, if nothing else, but it's to celebrate the holiday. What are your thoughts about the questions about standardizing the episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a place for standardized competitions. You run a competition. So if, in a nationwide Christmas light competition that's not aired or televised, I think those types of competitions are valid. In our show, because it's also shown on television and to a standard viewer, we have families watching, co-viewing. My kids love to watch it. If it showed 4 similar displays back to back, I don't know. I have nothing to do with, the ratings and things like that. But I assume it would not keep an audience attention if we had 4 similar shows back to back in an hour-long episode. I think the beauty of our show is that you never know what you're going to get next. You're going to get a house covered in pixels next to a house where they, I don't know, have a tractor that drives them through the display, next to a house that's got a pond with reflection, next to an amazing light show where everything's filled in and the lights are just beautifully synced. I mean, to me, that's an episode worthy of staying tuned in the entire time. So I
would also like to see this tractor driving people through the display.
Hey, me too. If anybody has a tractor that takes people through their light show, I'd love to see it.
Brandon asked, do judges see any footage of the display beforehand, or is it a surprise?
The judges do not see anything beforehand. When they show up, that's the first time they've ever seen it. Yes, we have the casting tapes that we use in casting and that we show the network, but the judges do not have access to those. They don't watch them. They don't meet the families, nothing.
Robert Larkin from Rye School Productions says an idea, air balloons holding up light displays tethered to the ground.
I'll take it. Yes, let's do that. If you can do that, I want it. Because anything that gives, listen, right now, if you look at a house, the highest level you can get to is the roof, unless you figure out a way to put things higher than the roof. Now, of course, you want to stay in regulation with your local jurisdiction, but if you can get things higher than your roof, I want to see it.
Heck yeah. Polar Escape says, so the surprise that the judges have is actually real.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's totally real. And listen, anybody, I know that there's people who just kind of put their lights on every year, but for the families who do a big reveal moment night, you guys know how it feels when those lights go on in person and you're standing in front of a display that's awesome and the light on moment happens. It is like a rush. So yes, that surprise is real. Just if you've experienced it yourself in person, you know the feeling.
I always have the thought, okay, I'm turning the show on for the first time. What's going to go wrong? I know I have to have something that's not plugged in, but it always goes out well. Alan asks, is the award only for those shown on each episode, or are they against type? I don't know what the against type means. Oh, it's per episode. So the 4 displays shown, it's out of those 4, yes?
Yep, out of those 4, yeah.
Impromptu question. Has there ever been a thought of a best, like taking 4 champions to go head-to-head in an episode? Is that something you've ever heard discussed or kicked around?
Yeah, we're always looking for unique ways to, show unique episode ideas. So we have had a couple of ideas to do like a rematch episode where maybe a family who didn't win gets to do the show again. The biggest thing with that episode, and I think I'm allowed to share this, the biggest thing with that episode is that we find that families are still on the same house. They're still doing the same display. Maybe it's a little bit bigger, but it's still the same. We want to show different always. So we wouldn't really consider a family who's doing the same display to do a rematch. What we have found would or could potentially work for a rematch episode. And this is the same, I think, with champions. If there's 4 previous winners, how has your display changed? Have you moved houses? Do you have a whole new theme? Have you gone from a light show to a static? Have you gone from a static to a light show? So we would show the same family, but we wouldn't want to show the same display.
Yeah, there are a few that change every single year. They don't do the same show twice. That's a ton more work than what I want to do, but bravo to you for do it. Now, when I was at Trans World Christmas Light Show earlier this year, the number one question I heard from everybody there is, will the Halloween Fright Fight be back this year? Can you give any insight to that by chance?
I can give insight. It will not be back this year.
Okay.
I know. We made it, we let people know, anybody who was in the mix who we'd researched, because we did do a fall session of outreach with a pared down casting team. So we let everybody know who was in the mix that we were not going to be coming back for casting or for a season this year. But it doesn't mean that the show's been canceled. It hasn't been canceled. It's just every year, ABC, the powers that be, need to assess and determine what works for their schedule. They love the show. Now, ABC loved it. They loved the 2 episodes that we did. There's so many factors involved. Again, like things I don't know about. We tried really hard. My bosses, Brady, tried really, really hard to get the show to come back. And it just didn't work out for this year, but it doesn't mean we're not coming back ever again. So if you have a light display, if you have a Halloween display, frightfightcasting.com is where you can go to submit your display there. And when and if we do come back, we will absolutely be able to consider you.
We talked about this earlier, but Robert Larkin's asking, have you thought about having a tiny house light fight episode? We kind of talked about that earlier. You want the bigger. Say it again?
I mean, we would consider a tiny house, but I don't think it's a tiny house episode. But if you have a tiny house, like on some property or a trailer on some property, like we could consider any sort of residential dwelling, 100%. Even like I've thought of a houseboat. Like if there's somebody who decorates a houseboat,
yeah,
consider that. It just has to be one residence, but it wouldn't be a whole episode. It would be like incorporated into the season. So if I lived in a tiny house, I would decorate the tiny house and all the property that it's on in order to probably.
Rob's asking if he applies for the show, can he have Carter come on? Can the contestants say, hey, I'm a really big fan of a particular judge and have that judge come on? Or how are judges assigned? I guess I've never thought about asking that.
Right. No, the judges are assigned kind of ahead of time. And that's another factor. It's like the judges scheduling and travel and all of that. I mean, if you can imagine, they're having to bounce around all over the country and stuff like that. So the puzzle piece is not something I would want to be involved in, of putting the episodes together based on production crews, who's going where, driving from here to there, the judges. There's so much involved. So no, there's not the ability to choose judge.
Fair enough. On your casting side, because you're the rock star of casting, in my opinion, are there any memorable moments that stand out from your time at the light fight?
Oh my God, there's so many. Well, Alan Kopatz, or not Alan Kopatz, I'm sorry, I can't think of his name, but I've been in touch with him recently. There was a contestant who we were so excited when he finally got on the show. Dave Markowski.
Oh, nice.
He finally made it on the show that we Zoom interviewed with him and recorded him, because we knew it was going to be such a reaction when he got selected to be on the show. So that was really fun. I mean, I think some of my favorite moments are when the families who've been involved are in the mix and they keep trying. The Slankard family is going to be on this year, and I've known them for years now, talking to them. I really love when a family gets to be on the show after years of trying to be on the show. I think also what's really fun, you mentioned Evelyn Quintero earlier, when we find a display or find a family who's doing a display, and then they uncover this Christmas community that you're a part of, that so many are a part of, and they then become a part of that community. To me, that is priceless. I mean, we get to offer these people a community that they didn't even know existed. They're just putting Christmas lights on their home. And now they get to see that other people do what they do, and they all get to love each other and cheer each other on. And that's really what it's about. And then just, sometimes it's the messages I get, and after people watch their segments, and they're just so appreciative of how their segment came out, and it just perfectly captured their family. Or years later, David Peace watches it with his family, and his kids are much older now, and he gets to look back at when they were young with like beautiful professional footage and everything. I mean, win or lose, we always try to convey. I know winning is very important to most. Winning, is important, but to me, to us, to the people on the show, if you're doing a Christmas display to the extreme level that you're doing your Christmas display, to the point where we find you, chances are you're going to continue doing your extreme Christmas display. So being on the show, it's the Super Bowl of Christmas lighting.
It is.
Not everybody is at that extreme level. So just getting on the show, to me, and of course, I'm not one of you. I'm not one of the contestants, but that should feel like you've already won. And then if you win, of course, that's like the cherry on the cake and the moment of glory and glee that you get to celebrate. But I mean, I think the memorable moments are just watching the show back too. I mean, and I try to reach out to every family after I watch their segment. Like, I'm so proud of you. You did exactly what you said you were going to do. Your segment was awesome. Like, I love watching the show back.
I'm surprised more contestants don't cry when they win the prize. I'd be high-fiving everybody. I'd be an emotional wreck.
They do. There's tears. There have been tears shed, I can say.
I just got to be an abundance of emotions all at one time. A concentrated just awesomeness. I don't know.
I can't imagine the feeling. Just getting validated for everything you've been doing. And,
that's well articulated. Personal question. How has being on the show influenced your decorating skills? Have you incorporated, like, that's awesome, I got to have that in my own living room or outside my house? Has there been any changes to your decorations?
I have gotten more artsy with my Christmas decorating. Like, I used to feel like lights could only go on the tree or on a banister out of the way. And lately I'm like, no, I can cover this whole entire table with a piece of white fabric and then put the lights on and underneath and everything. And I do mostly my interior because I live in a townhome and I don't have the ability to do exterior. But I have definitely gotten creative with my Christmas decorating on the interior. And I mean, like I said in the very beginning, the families just encourage me so much. I mean, one day, if and when we have a house, I will be out there decorating my exterior of my house, and I will eventually feel the pain that you all feel and the joy. But the influence is there. It's inside, whether, I'm still working on the show in future seasons when I actually get to decorate, but everyone's impacted me on what they've done. So the bug is within me. I just haven't been able to express it yet.
Fair enough. How do you normally engage with fans throughout the season? Is there a way how do you engage with them? Or do you? I don't know.
We have Light Bite Casting on Instagram. We have Light Bite Casting on TikTok. AJ's our TikToker, so she's there. She's
good job, AJ.
Post. Yeah, she's the one. Really, it's trying to keep people encouraged through the season. What's tough is like I said, we have 2 casting sessions. So we do a summer casting session, which is happening right now. This is when we're interviewing, pitching, editing, pitching to the network, making the decisions for who's coming on this season. And then we have a winter casting session. So the winter casting session is when we're discovering new homes, finding footage, encouraging those who we love and need new footage from to get what we need. Horizontal footage, really great shots. Yes. We have endless conversations with families, trying to talk them through the shots that we need to make their display really, really sing and be able to utilize in the summertime. So in the off season, we do our best, but nobody's really dedicated to our social media or dedicated to, keeping the social media or fandom alive. So I try to post here and there, or I'll like share stories here and there from the Instagram, but
Well, I'm available if you need me. By God.
Okay.
Um, so we talked earlier at the beginning of the video. I said, "Hey, stay tuned to the end of the video." Can people still get cast for this year's show?
People can still get cast for this year's show. We are open. Our casting is open. We only have a couple weeks left, but if we see a display, if a display comes through on the back end, that is, like I said from the very beginning, totally unique, full coverage, great footage. We can consider you. What we really want to see is something different, maybe a theme. Like if you have a theme display and you've never submitted to us before and it's big and again, it doesn't have to be huge sprawling acreage. It can just be
Hmm?
big in the sense of it's impactful and bright. We want to see it. We can definitely still consider you.
So the Splankers, I talk to them all the time. They are being cast on the Great Christmas Fight in a
Well,
future
they
episode.
shot their episode last November.
Yeah, yeah, and then they wisely said nothing. Wisely, I'm sure there's an NDA or something people have to sign. Wisely said nothing. Good job, you, for keeping that heck of a secret. Where and when can we get the light fight hat? Tony is asking.
I know this hat has been, it's like I wear it with pride, but I also fear that it could get swiped off my head because we used to give, or production used to give these hats out to the crew every season. And I've been with the show for many years, so I got one. And they haven't been producing them for even the crew anymore. So they're not for sale. They're not available at all. So I have one of very few light fight hats.
Fair enough. Polar Escape saying the 65 to 78-year-old participants give me hope and inspiration. And Polar Escapes, I will tell you that the folks who won my contest last year, Terry and MJ Mangum, and I actually had Beverly D'Angelo on my show who announced our winners. Yes, the Ellen Griswold came on the show, so kudos to her for coming on our show. But they are retired, both of them. They are in the senior age group, so good for them. They have put on a great show. Let's see here. Let's catch up on a few comments. Let's see. How far do the judges go, and do they go out of state or USA for any of the shows? Wouldn't be out of the USA, but is it regional placement for the judges, or how does that work?
Oh no, I mean we're casting nationwide, so the judges go wherever the family is. They go to the house, so they go everywhere. We've sent them to Hawaii before. We have not gone to Alaska yet. But that's as far as we've gone. Is we did in our, I think it was the neighborhood episode that we did a Hawaii neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful World of Christmas Lights is asking, how do we make this a 2-time year? Has there been any thoughts about having a Christmas in July episode?
Whew, I don't know. That's again, that's a network thing. I don't know if that would, fly. But I think I don't know when we would shoot it. We might have to shoot an extra episode and air it in July. But all the episodes are still on Hulu, I believe, and you can find them. So if you need your fix, you can always find some episodes online.
You can, that's exactly where I watch mine. So we have so many questions that come in, and you guys are great about hitting Transworld and hitting some minis and hitting Expo, which is coming up in 2 short weeks in the Kansas City, Kansas area. Has there been any thought about engaging in like a live stream like this on your own channel to answer questions throughout the year?
I mean, I actually was just thinking about I should probably go live on the Light Fight Instagram. Our following isn't great. We just started the Instagram a couple years ago. AJ's much better. She's gotten a good following on TikTok. But yeah, going live on TikTok or Instagram. What's funny is on my reality TV casting calls, I used to go live and I would do a roulette. I called it a casting. I think I called it like a casting roulette, where I would tell the audience, anybody in the audience could request to join the live. I would just let anybody in. I would just pick a random person and they could ask one question about casting. and it was really, really fun. So maybe I'll pick that up on Light Fight Casting on Instagram, because it's fun and people get to ask a personal question. I mean, sometimes they have a specific question about themselves, not just a general question. So you know what, maybe I'll do that a little later, or we could have guests of, anybody who's been on the show to be a guest with us.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Speaking of potential guests, Robert's asking if Joe Biden decorates the White House, can he enter the Great Christmas Light Fight competition?
It's a residence, so I think we would have to take it
Well
on.
played. Well played. Let's see here. That would be an interesting episode. Maybe have like Putin and Biden going head to head in the first international competition.
Oh my gosh.
What is your favorite holiday season? Oh, go ahead.
There is a rule that anybody who's running for office, I believe there's something in the rules. So we updated it a while ago, but the rules are stated and if you are running for office, I don't think you can be considered in this year that you're running for office.
Makes sense.
And the reason behind it has to do with giving your opponents equal press time. So anybody who's running against them would also have to be considered on the Great Christmas Light Fight, essentially.
Yeah.
They may not do a Christmas display, so it's a tricky situation.
Do you have any idea of how many states you filmed in so far?
I believe there's 5 states left that we have not visited.
Oh, okay.
So if that's the case, we've been to 45. But I think I have my grid open here. I think we have them listed like 5 to 7 states that we've not visited yet. And we want to get there.
So do you know top of your head what those 5 are? Because if people are watching right now, they're like, I live in that state, I'm gonna get on.
Yeah, it's more than that actually. So it's Alaska, Delaware, Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Montana, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming.
Okay. Yeah, Polar Express has a good thing. It would be a free ad for the Christmas Light Fight to do your live streams throughout the year.
Love it.
What are there any things, if you could have a magic wand and you could have an AI make everything perfect from the contestant's first video, like, this is awesome, this is perfect, to the end, what would you type into AI to get the perfect contestant and show for casting purposes only?
So I've always had I've always had this thought of a winter wonderland theme where maybe everything's covered in white and blue, and maybe there's like a fun slide that the judge could go down, and there's like penguins on the side. I'm being totally generic with the types of characters, so we wouldn't have to worry about clearancing. If there's trees on the property, beautifully wrapped. I love trees that are wrapped in rope lighting. They're more expensive, but they come out so good and really, really bright. That the lawn was fully covered. Maybe there's a real pond or piece of water on the property, or maybe they, put a pond in, or a fake pond scene. Something that kind of like has a story from left to right on the house. Of course, full house coverage, full roof coverage, maybe some projection in the windows. If there's music synchronizing, maybe just something beautiful. Maybe not everything is synchronized to lights, but there's some synchronization that just has a little bit of movement to a song. Santa and a sleigh on the one side, perhaps. That's kind of in my vision. Maybe just like a really nice aesthetic, a storyline. And then, of course, then we meet the family, and the family is super excitable, and they're all involved. Yeah. And they have a reason behind what they've done, and they've built everything. They build it all year round. The community is involved. That would be an AI version, like perfection for me.
Polar saying he watches it all the time, helps to get him going. It is. It's a great motivator.
Have you ever submitted? I don't have your name or your last name.
Polar Escapes, tell us your name and have you ever submitted to the Great Christmas Light Fight in the comments, please. And I don't see it now, but old Swifty, who's Laura Coro, she was our Laura. I think you took third in our contest this year. She's the ones that Beverly D'Angelo talked about. But she says she's gonna put in 2028. I can't find that comment now, but I thought it was funny. Future contestant.
We'll take it.
That's Chris Minzy.
Chris Minzy.
Oh, I didn't realize that was you.
Have you submitted?
I don't think you've submitted before, have you, Chris? I guess I can't answer that for you. But yeah, let us know in the comments, Chris. I didn't realize that was you. Sorry.
Chris is a woman.
See, I know so many people through
decorator.
Oh yeah. Chris has been one of my longest Patreon. I think she's my first or second Patreon member. She's been with me for years. I know names, but yeah. The handles kind of throw me sometimes.
Right. Love it.
Nice. So we'll wait for Chris to answer that. Do you have any questions for the viewers who are watching in right now with these questions? Do you have any questions for them?
Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed is sometimes we'll find a new display. We'll realize that there's a Facebook page for this family and they have everything set up and we just never found them. And then I see that there are contestants who've been on the show or people that I'm connected with on Facebook who have been following this display all along. So I guess my question or plea to you all watching is whether you've been on the show, you've not been on the show, you're trying to be on the show, you don't want to be on the show, whatever it is. If you know of a display that you think should try to be on the show, I highly recommend nominating them. They're in the same form. You can either apply yourself or you can nominate others because there's still more out there. There are more incredible displays out there that we have not found. And any help we can get finding them, it's just, a service to the show. I know that I feel like there were a couple of years ago where maybe some light shows weren't winning and the light show community was a little, upset that a light show hadn't won in a while. And to me, I say, don't stop submitting. If anything, keep submitting. We need to have more light shows on the show so that we will get some winners. And we have gotten some winners in the past, some light show winners. But to me, the biggest thing about this show is if we don't continue getting displays that are big enough, bright enough, and ready for the show, then the show may cease to exist altogether. I'm not saying, essentially, think about it. If there's only so many displays, then we're not going to have a show anymore. So my thing is, if you all love the show, you want to keep watching the show, whether you've been on, you want to be on or anything, submit to us your favorite displays nationwide because we want to be able to consider them. We want to keep this show going forever and ever and ever. It's been going for 13 seasons. We want to keep that train rolling.
What if my Winnebago through the Indy 500 Christmas 10-mile light display? Gonna have a Winnebago. Drove my Winnebago. Nice.
Or set up your Winnebago on a piece of property that you own or that you lease and just decorate the whole property.
There you go. Hey, I came in late, but I have a question. Are there different categories for each entry? We talked about that earlier, and there are not different categories. It's just you have an awesome display or not. Laura's asking, there's a whole street in neighborhood in California that decorates in the La Habra area. Is that a logistical nightmare?
So again, the neighborhoods, we don't consider the neighborhoods as a whole, but we definitely consider, if there's a crown jewel of the neighborhood, we have, we'll try our best to reach out and find the best or biggest display or the one who kind of started it. The Habra, I've definitely heard of them. I'm going to take another look and make sure they're on our radar, but I've heard of them. And it's not a logistical nightmare because we usually film prior to the, most people's displays being up in November.
Right.
So it's fine. Yeah, it's totally fine.
there's not a minimum size per se, as long as it's your own residential lot or your own lot, one piece of property. So there's no minimum, correct?
No, there's no minimum.
Mama Swift's turning in saying Charlie Christmas. Okay, what's up, Mama Swift? I think that about wraps it up for us, unless you have any last minute pieces of advice. But actually, before you go, can you make sure we have the social medias again and that website again?
Absolutely. So lightfightcasting.com is where you can go, and then it links to all of our socials on the website. But there's also the link to apply, and you can click there and submit your display. Again, it's not the big long application that people used to have to fill out. That is nice. If you're going to get pitched, you're going to fill out the big long application, and just something you all have to know and be aware of. There's a lot of paperwork, and there's meetings, and there's things like that. If you want to be on the show, you don't just say, okay, I want to be on the show, and then we show up one day with cameras. You'll know if you're getting selected. You'll know your dates. You'll be in touch with somebody, with producers. So, lightfightcasting.com. You'll find the Instagram social media, our TikTok social media. Follow us at all places. And even if you want to nominate someone, lightfightcasting.com, it's the same exact button, and you can nominate your favorite display nationwide.
Rob's got a last question. Did the guy from Rockville Center qualify for this year's show? Do you know who that person might be?
Can't talk about anybody who's going to be on for this year, because actually we don't even know. We're still pitching, so we could still take new applicants for this season. Rockville Center. If a family did not, the families are allowed to talk about if they're going to be on this season. So PR and everybody from the network gave the families who are going to be appearing this Christmas the go ahead if they want to tell people that they're going to be on the show. But we leave that up to the families to decide, because it may cause more crowds. It may cause more, fair enough. I know that you kind of mentioned crowds at one point. Crowds could enhance the year that you are on the show. Yes. So it's something to think about, but they usually go back down to the normal amount the very next year. But if a family decided to not advertise that they're going to be on the show, then I'm going to leave that up to them.
So Kansas stole your idea for your show many moons ago. They had many years ago, I won the Kansas Christmas light fight. Crowds for days. I'm like, my goodness. I have a decent show. My show's not that good. I don't know why you're all coming. Just because I won a little contest and the news put it on. I wouldn't wait in line that long for my show. But I have heard people tell me they won't apply for the Great Christmas Light Fight because they don't want that type of vehicular traffic.
And that's just something that that's totally their opinion. There's one light show that's been on our radar for so many years, and we reach out every year, and every year they just say no. Apparently they're on a very main road. They don't want people stopping on the main road to see their display. There's really nowhere to drive in. So I totally get it. As much as I want people who want to be on the show to get on the show, I'm not someone who's going to really go over the top and try to force somebody to be on the show if it's not something they want. As much as we may want someone.
Is that show located in Northwest US? I think we're probably talking about the same people. No. Oh, it's not. Okay, then remember, somebody else.
Yeah. But there's others in that realm. I just know that one from early season 2 we call every year. Gotcha.
Well, hang out for a second. I'm gonna end the show here, but I appreciate everybody who's tuned in today on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. That's about it for me today. Thank you so much, Kristen, for coming on the show, and to the Great Christmas Light Fight for having us. Thank you so much, guys. I'm Charlie. She's Kristen. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.